So, what do you think of the new table?
I like it. I'm impressed. Every time I come, something else impresses me. Easily impressed.
Yeah, same plant though.
Yeah, well, that can't be replaced, can it? Not now, anyway.
No, it's going to have to stay. All right, should we start with the grip test then?
Yeah, let's see if I sit here sad for the rest of the day.
Do you want me to start off?
Yeah, go.
I'll
You've
tell
been
you what
practicing, haven't you, since we...
Not really. Well, like I said, I went against the kids the other day, and I managed to double the kids, so I was pretty pleased with that. You ready?
Yeah, let's see what I've got to beat.
Oh, it was all right, you know. 59.
Is that good?
I think that's about my best one. Catching Bradders up.
What was he?
You going right or left?
I don't know.
I think
Can
he
I try both?
hit 60, I think.
Did I?
Yeah. That's probably a good face, though, yeah? That's just the same face. What is it?
56. 56-1. What? I destroyed you and Brad last time. Let me go
I
again.
can't remember that.
This
Just
don't count then, does it?
Press start again just to reset it.
Okay. All right. $61.7.
Yeah, there's no point in me having another go because mine's get weaker. So we'll get our leaderboard up, shall we?
Okay.
61.7.
61.7.
I'll let you try and remember that.
Yeah.
Right.
You can trust me with that data.
Well, what we're talking about today.
Well, we're going to recap, wasn't we, about the weekend's events and bits and pieces like that.
Yeah. Do you want to do a couple of these, what's it called here now? Your teammates' questions.
Questions on my teammates.
So this part of the show is going to be called Rate Your Teammate.
Okay.
Is it rate?
Yeah, let's
a good
do
word
it.
or not? Okay, so we've got some questions. Who is the king or queen of unintentionally slap fighting during rolling sessions?
Aaron. That's not even in doubt. I don't think you'll get a different answer from anyone else in the gym. Even if you're not rolling with Aaron, you're likely to get a slap from him, from his sock or his hand or elbow or something. Yeah, Aaron.
Who's most likely to forget their gi pants at home before a tournament?
I'd have said Aaron again if he competed. I'm sorry. I'm not.
Who's most likely to take a mid-roll nap and wake up in a submission hold?
Guy.
You say he's not very concentrated.
Well, I've seen him get put sleep, so I'd say Guy. That was funny.
Who's the master of the invisible grappling technique, disappearing mid-roll only to reappear behind their opponent?
Oh, good God.
I think that's a roundabout way of saying who's the best bat taker.
Yeah. Joe's pretty slick at it. New Joe.
Okay, I was going to say I got someone in mind for that.
Yeah, New Joe.
Literally describes range.
Yeah, range as well. Yeah, but range doesn't disappear. You can feel it happening. There's just not a lot you can do about it.
Who's most likely to challenge a white belt to a roll and end up in a full-on struggle?
Me. Guy again. Or Sim. He can go heavy on some white belts, can't he? And then get into a bit of a... Let him get a good position on him and then scrap back.
Okay. Who is the undisputed champion of making the loudest grunting noises during drills?
Lee. Lee, I had a conversation with him before the competition because he said he makes a lot of noises and someone said that can be counted as a verbal tap. And he says, okay, I'll try to keep him in.
Yeah,
so
one.
Lee.
Who's the team's designated guard puller, expertly executing the move at the most unexpected moments?
Oh, Christ. Expert guard puller.
So who's the biggest guard puller that we have?
I'm a massive guard puller because I won't stand up because I'm lazy. I won't wrestle because I'm lazy. So, but I wouldn't use me as expert. But
yeah, I definitely won't describe you as expert.
That's the only bit. But I'd say the biggest guard puller is probably me.
Okay. Who is most likely to show up to practice wearing their gi inside out and not realise it until halfway through class?
Aaron.
Do you know what? This happened to someone recently. I can't think who it was.
He had his rash guard
Yes,
on the wrong way.
It was Baz.
He hadn't been for a year.
It might be one of the kids as well it happened to. Someone even more recently than that. But yeah, Baz did have his...
Baz borderline brown belt. putting rash guards on back to front.
Okay, who is notorious for their magical disappearing act during open mat, mysteriously vanishing whenever it's time to drill a difficult technique?
Oh, Christ.
So who's off mat more than they should be?
Yeah, I can feel you looking at me.
No.
Off the mat more than they should be.
There's a few people I think that disappear when it's time for, either halfway through the rolls or...
Aaron goes and checks his phone a lot.
Yeah, there's a few toilet goers, isn't there?
I go toilet in between sessions. But that normally works against me because I go toilet after the first session just before rolling, and then you get a warm-up rolling, and then as soon as I walk back through the door, the first sparring match I get is you, so it kind of backfires on me. But I don't like doing it mid-session through when you're teaching because you come back up and I haven't got a clue what I'm doing. I mean, it's hard enough knowing what I'm doing anyway.
Kids like to do that one. They disappear to the toilet as I'm
just
as I'm teaching something and miss the whole technique. Okay, that's enough of that. That's the rubbish out the way.
Yeah.
Obviously, we couldn't do a podcast without being silly somewhat.
No.
So that's that portion.
I'm sure there'll be more silliness
there'll be some more portions to come back in.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the competition then. We spoke about it last podcast.
Yeah.
Kind of our expectations and who we thought was going to do well. And now the competition has happened just this weekend. We had a lot of mixed results. It was a pretty mad day for me and you, cornering especially.
Yeah.
So what was your take on the competition as a whole before we get into the nitty gritty of
our club aside and the competition?
Yeah, just the competition as a whole. How do you feel it went?
I liked it. I liked the competition. I liked how well it went. But I do think smooth comp is fantastic for competitions. I liked the setup. I liked that it was easy to get to. The parking was good. I was a big fan of the competition. It reminded me a lot of the one in Stoke, Role Models. I know they used to only do primarily white and blue belt comps, didn't they?
Yeah.
And I always thought that was really well run. You've got a warm-up area away from it all and, in the quiet of it. And I just thought it was run very similar to that. And I liked it. And I think that's the smooth comp effect.
Yeah, I think smooth comp has come in a few years ago. I don't know how long it's been around now, but it seems like nearly every competition around is using them. And it's so useful. I mean, the only bad thing is I try to get away from being on my phone all that much.
Yeah.
But I spent the whole day literally with my phone in front of me, just refreshing the match order for our guys.
Well, I didn't catch the screens, but a lot of the time they have screens about the place that have your match order coming up to your mats, don't they? But these were kind of frozen, telling you what categories were on each mat. But I think on the one in Stoke, they had it projected as well behind the mats, where you could see like, okay, I've got 3 matches before me, and working your way up to the mat itself. So that was probably one thing that it didn't have. But smooth comp makes all the difference. I don't think All Stars uses it. I don't think.
No, they don't.
So they can call people through to the bullpen, and I've seen them there for like 45 minutes before they get pulled through again. And they've just warmed up, and then they're standing there in the bullpen getting cold again. There's 20, 30 people in there that can hardly move, just listening out for the names. Yeah. So I don't like that really.
Yeah, I mean, it still changes. The time still changes throughout the day. Obviously, we had Phil stuck in the bathroom whilst everyone was shouting for him to come out and compete. That
was a random one. I found that stressful throughout the day as well. It's like you'd shout over, Aaron, where's Kyle? Or is such and such here? Or is where's what's it? It's like, Jesus Christ, where they took off to? So Phil was in the toilet, still not even changed into his gear, and they were calling him to the mat for his match.
Yeah.
Kyle rolled in, not late. He was plenty on time, but when you're looking around trying to herd the flock, trying to keep them in one area.
I'm sticking down, and you're wondering where certain people are.
Yeah, exactly. But as the event went, I thought it was a well-run event.
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully they do another one this year.
And I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, because it looked like it was a success to me.
Yeah, well, I'm not really sure what their goal is. If it's just a bit of a, try it out, see what happens, have a go, and maybe never do it again, or whether they want to, try and be one of the big names in the UK for, well, at least for UK-based competitions, which I think is doable.
Yeah.
But you got to, I'd say you got to start with at least 2 a year, I would think, and I would think that 6 months
minimum
between them is enough time to, kind of chill out afterwards, after the mentalness of running a competition, and then build up for the next one. Give people plenty of time to get signed up again. Hopefully,
it's given them the organisers confidence that it's like, yeah, we can do it. We'll do it again. We'd do this differently. We'd do that. The first one, the nerves is out the way for them guys, and they know that they've got the full backing of, because the majority of the clubs that were competing there, not all, but the majority of them were Leicester based, and they had the backing of them, weren't they? We was almost going down there grateful that it's like, well done guys, because we wouldn't have wanted to do it, and you have put this on, you've put the efforts in, so it was nice to give a little something back, even if you're not competing, to go down and support and everything like that.
Yeah.
So I was happy with that.
Okay, so were you happy with our results?
No.
I just feel about the overall.
But I don't want
results.
that to sound awful, because, when you look at the statistics, it didn't look great. But at the same time, I kind of want to gather everyone up and say to, the majority of the people we had competing with novices anyway, but gather them all up and just say, okay, that day is not it. It's the whole build-up. It's the 3-4 months before. It's the work that you've put in on the match, your game plan, handling the nerves on the day. The result's just one small portion of the competition, but then it's almost a paradox, because then I don't want them to think, oh yeah, well, I've done all that. Yeah, I might have got murdered on the day, but so what? You still want to win. You still want that reward for all the hard work that you've put in. And I don't think some people got the reward on what I feel like they deserved, seeing them perform down here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think the thing is, when you think about competing, a lot of people, they say, okay, I'm going to try this out. Maybe it's like a new white belt or whatever. I'm going to try this out, see how I get on. And sometimes what happens is guys have that, I guess, negative experience is the only way to describe it. Because ultimately you want to win. So I'd say it's a fairly negative experience to begin with if you are going to take losses. And I think sometimes they read too much into that and say, oh, maybe it's not for me, and you might not see them again. I think you almost have to set up a little bit of a season to begin with, where you say, okay, this is going to be my year, where I have a little bit of a bash at competitions, pick out 3 or 4 maybe over the course of 6, 7, 8 months, and do it that way, and then see where you're at the end of that little season, if you like. So at least that way, you're building momentum, because even for me now, when I compete, I'm only competing, once a year pretty much, if that. And it's hard for me to get the engine running again. Do you know what I mean? Your first match, you're like, Christ, I ain't competed for a year. So the first match is hard work, and then you're not really getting back into it with just one match, and it could only be a short match, depending on how it's gone. So ideally, you want that kind of 3 or 4 matches for your first comp. You go and do another comp and get the same. The trouble is, with a lot of these guys, let's say you're only doing no gi, and it's tournament format, you lose the first one, you've had one match. So if that's your only experience of it, it's going to be even worse for you when you're only doing one, and then probably think about hanging up your gi after that. So I definitely think you need to try and get at least a couple in per day that you compete, and then try and get a few days of competing over the course of 6, 7, 8 months, and then see where you're at. Let's say you're a white belt again, starting out, you have a couple of slow results at the start, and by the end of it you think, do you know what, I can get that gold if I really just take that extra little bit of time to push, and a bit more work in the gym, a bit more focus, whatever it is.
It's almost for the guys that were brand new to competing, it was almost a free swing for them anyway, although you want them to do as well as they can do, but it's a benchmark, isn't it? It's like, right, okay, in my first comp I went out there, I froze up a little bit here, or I didn't deal with that, or I never had a particular area I want to navigate the match into. So they go in there a little bit lost. So now I'm sure they've all had hindsight and said, I should have done this, I should have done that. And hindsight's 2020, but they'll go out in the next one knowing a little bit more of what it takes and what they need. Because sometimes down here you get I wouldn't say a false sense of security, although that probably is the word, where they can roll and they feel like they're holding their own with higher belts than themselves. So they think, oh, you know what, I'll be all right against the white belts, but they don't know that these guys are working techniques or letting them play and things like that. So now they've had a feel of the energy of it, and they've felt lost in certain positions. They can at least go there knowing now. So that was like, that's the line. I know what I need to do. I've experienced it now, and they can go in there. And I think it is mainly a mindset thing. Because they can do a lot better on the mats during sparring. It's just transitioning that into a competition format.
Yeah. So who do you think was the top performers on the day? Because we did, regardless of the mixed results, we did come away with 3 golds and I think it was 5 silvers. Mm-hmm. Although I think maybe one of those was like a participation one. So who do you think was the best performers on the day?
Well,
pick 2 or 3.
When we predicted who we thought would stand out, them guys did stand out. I was really impressed with Santi. Not only with his performance, but it was how he was listening to what you was shouting, and he was acknowledging what you was shouting and executing what you was telling him to do. And I think that's a skill in itself that we haven't seen for a while since Brad does it.
I was literally just thinking that. It was reminiscent of when Brad started competing.
Yes.
And straight away you go, oh, he's actually switched on.
Yeah, precisely. And he was really, really good at executing his game plan and listening and flowing with how the role went. He did fantastic. Stepping up into the adult category for the first time might have been daunting. And his match ended up against a blue belt. I don't know whether he was aware of it at the time. But for a teenager to do that, or a class as juveniles or youths or whatever.
I think he was initially in the juvenile division.
That's a big deal. But I thought he was a standout performer. Joe and Kyle. Yeah. Again, props to Wayne stepping down, competing against people. Wayne and Zoeb competing against people that were around 14 years younger than themselves and up in the minutes of the matches that they competed.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that we didn't necessarily take into account. And they weren't the only 2. There was a good few that dropped down.
Yeah.
From over 40s.
Chi dropped down.
Yeah,
he
I
gave
think
away
it
a few years.
Pretty much over 40s, weren't it? We had Sim dropped down, Chi dropped down, Zoeb, Wayne.
Yeah.
I'm missing anybody off. Did Lee drop down as well? Or was Lee always in?
No, Lee might have.
He might have as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, what happens when you drop from the Masters into the adult divisions is you get longer rounds.
I think Lee's rounds were 5s, actually. Okay. I think. I can't be sure.
So there was some of our guys, like your Waynes and your Cheese, that ended up with longer rounds than what they would have had. Yeah. So, but Chi performed really well.
He did.
I mean, Chi's 53, if not 54.
Yeah.
Let's say 53, give him the benefit of the doubt. He's probably 52 now. But yeah, he's in his 50s and he's training regular, and he competed really well and
went up on points.
Yeah, the only thing I could say about him going forward is he just needs that competition experience again. Yeah. Like a few of the guys. Mm-hmm. I think that's literally the only thing was missing. I think if they'd have had a couple of comps before that and then done that competition, I think she easily walks away with the gold medal in that one.
I do. Match management a little bit as well in areas.
Exactly, yeah.
Knowing where you are in the match, whether you're up, and sometimes you want to shout over stall. You don't mean stall, like maintain position and things like that, rather than taking unnecessary risks when you're like 4 points up. Yeah. There's no need for you to make a move. The onus is on that guy to make something happen at that point, Yeah. But
I really believe that this competition is going to be the start for some of those guys really kicking off now. Yeah. And by the end of the year, having a much better understanding of competition and starting to get towards, at least medaling, if not winning divisions by the end of the year. There's going to be a few of them that I think we'll take that and move forward. I mean, already this week for training, we've had guys straight back on the mats. So no one's resting on the laurels.
See, isn't it?
Everyone's back on the gi classes, on the no gi classes. We've got comp class tomorrow, so we'll see if a lot of the guys come back for that.
Yeah.
And that's it. I've been releasing a few riveting speeches this week to the guys and saying, you know, that we need to basically get back on it again, and we're very close, and we've worked a lot of kind of defensive positions for this training camp, making sure that, you know, and no one did get hammered.
No, they didn't.
There was some guys that lost like by a few points, but no one was getting hammered and submitted and looking out of place.
No.
So I think it did work. We've got guys that are defensively sound now, and going forward now, we need to kind of get out of that little box and move towards everyone having an A-game strategy. I think that's the big thing that we're missing.
I think as long as they don't treat that competition as like the end destination, it's just another run on the journey of where they want to go. It's like you say, if they'd have already had, you know, 1 or 2 competitions under the belts that have performed a lot better, well, that is the one. You know, the next one will be the 2. So you are progressing into, you know, becoming a competitor, you know, and a good competitor at that if you stick with it. But everyone starts somewhere with it, don't they? So they've got to experience it for the first time, and then, you know, win, lose or draw, dust yourself off, go back, work on the things that you think you need to work on, and then go back with a different mindset, or put that into practice and see if it works. Yeah. And that's literally what it's all about.
So are you going to compete ever again?
Yeah.
What?
Yes, I will compete ever again.
This year?
Yeah. I'd like to do the October one if they do another one. I mean, it was right. Me and you had a good conversation back and forth for a while about it. And like we were saying, we took a lot of competitors there, but 80% of them were brand new, weren't they? And it's like you said, you know, I didn't compete, Baz didn't compete, Tommy didn't compete, Brad didn't compete, Ranj didn't compete, and it's like, yeah, you're right. And these are your more experienced guys, so I think it's probably only right for us lot to chuck the gi on and get out there and try and lead by example for it.
So, A-game strategy, let's talk about that for the guys that are going to be watching this. What do we mean by A-game strategy? What would your A-game strategy be?
Me personally?
Yeah, obviously bear in mind that your competitors could be watching you going forward, being the big name that you are.
Wrestle. Mine would be to get to a guard. To get to a guard not as quick as possible, because I quite like the idea of standing with the guy for a short period of time, so they think you're going to, you know, play the stand-up game with them a little bit, then get to a guard. If it's gi, get to a guard and start working the lapels. Half guard or close guard. I'm quite liking close guard at the minute as well. But for me, it'd be getting to a guard, as quickly as possible. Then let them panic. I mean, an A game is literally like what you've been saying to people, where you can be attacking those guys and then be on the back foot from the offset. I mean, we went to a seminar, didn't we? Was it Jude Samuel the other a few months ago, wasn't it? And he said, you know, the only way you can make a guy predictable is by attacking him. You know, and if you do, because they've got to defend in a certain way. If you give them a bit of a free ride, they can do what they want or go where they want with the match. But if you're attacking them, if you're attacking my neck, for example, you know I'm going to have to come up here and hand fight it. You know, so you can make someone predictable by attacking them, and I think that's a really good analogy to use.
Yeah, I've been trying to get it in everyone's heads this week, first week back, that we need to start getting an identity, or everyone has their own identity of what it is you are doing when you're grappling. So getting to your best position and being attack-minded from there on for the rest of the match. Yeah. So what you want is your opponent to be constantly in a defensive state. So it doesn't mean that you're constantly trying to submit them, but what it means is that even if you're, let's say, stuck in like a reverse De La Riva passing position. Yeah. Okay. So there's plenty of things that he can do to me, submission-wise and sweep-wise. What sometimes people choose to do on the top when they're passing is just stabilize the position and hold it.
Yeah.
So in terms of what I'm saying about being attack-minded, if you're passing guard, you need to be constantly doing something to attack that guard. So pushing the feet out so they've got no kind of handles on you, stripping the grips, tying up on their grips, threatening to cut one way, then cut the other way. So you don't have to be doing like full moves or full techniques, but you've got to be probing everything all the time. So you're giving them so much to think about that they can't then attack you back so easily. If you just choose to sit there and wait because either you're tired or you're not sure what to do, they will attack you from those positions. So that's the important thing for competing going forward, is that everyone becomes a lot more attack minded, but that doesn't mean necessarily gun-ho submissions.
It's also using your attacks, you like stringing your attacks together, because I know sometimes, I was guilty of this as well when I first started, but I'd go for one attack. If that didn't work, it's like, crap, it didn't work. Instead of picking up the reactions from the attack. So it's like, I've gone for a Kimura. It's from half guard, for example. They've pulled backwards, all the way backwards. Instead of like following up for a sweep or chasing it back and making them pay for such a wild movement and taking the pressure off, it's like, damn, that didn't work. I'll try it again, it don't work. But stringing it together or getting other things off, you don't necessarily have to hit the sweep every time you go for a sweep. But if you can get a guy's hand to the mat, you know, when they're piling a lot of pressure on you, you can get them moving or basing out wide. You know, you can get your shoulder clamps and you can get your Kimuras off of that, and you can get your guard back and everything. But I think sometimes people will do a massive bridge, try to chuck somebody off wildly. It don't work. And then they're just, well, I tried. Instead of taking the bits that are given to them. And I suppose that's a form of attack as well. Even if you're in a defensive position, you can always attack these areas, or not let people get settled enough where they can mount attacks on you.
Yeah, I mean, even from the defensive positions, you should be trying to take control of the position and attack them. And again, that doesn't mean underneath mount trying to submit them. It means that you're constantly trying to mess with their base, get them to put their hands out, pull you close, push you away. You know, you've got to give them reasons to move and change their shape. Because if you don't, if you are just trying to wait and hope that this passes, it won't, because they're going to sit and just pick you apart. And obviously the higher level, I mean, you might get away with doing that against whites and blues, but what you should be aiming to do is all your techniques against black belt level people eventually, or, you know, that experience level.
It's tough when someone's good in them areas also. I know we've stood up and we've played around, you know, from stand up, and I've managed to get behind you, and the first thing you do is won't let me get my hands together. And it's the most frustrating thing in the world, because, you know, your eyes light up. It's like, right, I've got him here. But you just can't put your hands together. You're sinking your weight down low. And it's like, Jesus, how come I feel like I'm the one in a fight here when it should be you panicking? And I think you can do it from a lot of positions. A few people down here are really tricky with it. I think Simon, it would have been nice to see Simon compete, because I think his guard recovery and his defence is real solid. But like you say, now if you can switch that where they're so confident with their own defence, maybe they'll let loose and attack a little bit more, knowing that if things do go wrong, they've got a way out of it and they're okay. They're going to be okay.
So basically going forward for everyone, especially for who's listening to this, the main things going forward that I want everyone to start doing, and I've just wrote it down here on my phone to make sure I don't forget any of it, but it's only really like 3 points anyway, is the first thing is to make sure that you go to the places where you want to be. So as an example, if your best move is a triangle choke, and obviously Tarun was a good example of this, you get to close guard as quick as possible and you start going for your triangles. Great example of attacking the person. They can't do anything to you other than trying to base or pass the guard, which isn't attacking enough to put you off doing your attacks constantly. Okay. If you end up, let's say they start to pass your guard, all routes should lead back to your closed guard again. So what we were guilty of was guys starting to pass our guards, and then we're in half guard and accepting to play that game. But that's not anyone's game down here. Not really. I can't think of anyone who's a big half guard player. So you end up half guard, you work way back to closed guard, you're there again. You've recycled it back to where you started, and you're going again. Same thing. You're trying to submit them. They can't do a lot to you. And to be honest with you, when I started competing, that's all I ever thought about was getting to closed guard. And if I wasn't in closed guard, how do I get to closed guard? And all routes need to lead back to that. And then the next thing is making sure that you have got certain, like basically attacking at least twos.
Yeah.
Okay, so an example would be of what we did on the class this week. We got to butterfly guard, we went for the shoulder clamp position, and then we're looking to hit the inverted armbar off of it. So we did loads of drills on that. So again, an attacking position where the guy on top can only defend. He can't, he could maybe pass my guard, but it's unlikely he's going to pass my guard in that position. He's definitely not submitting me in that position. No. Okay, so I'm just attacking him. And then if he makes the mistake of driving in, which he should be trying to do to keep his arm bent, then I sweep him. And he can't defend both of them. No. So if he doesn't want to get swept, he has to keep his base, which means I can now stretch him out and finish the arm lock. So then you start having these 2s and 3s that you start to attack in. So not only are you now in the best position that you can be in, if you come out of that position, you're directly trying to get back to it. Yeah. And when you're in that position, if your first attack doesn't work, you've got something else that you can hit against the guy. And then just going back to using my own experiences again, when I was in close guard, my big move was my overhook triangle, which I was always trying to submit people with. And then after that, all I tried to do was get more and more setups for the overhook. So the thing that I found difficult was getting the overhook when guys are tough and keeping their elbows in and they're tough on top. So I just ended up with 4 or 5 different ways of getting overhooks. And one of them would usually work. And then that's it. Dead easy game plan.
Do you find that when you have literally, not saying you only had the one attack then, but that probably was your dominant position, and an area that probably one of the only areas you felt comfortable attacking, do you think it made life a lot easier in terms of that's it? I mean, when you broaden your game and you get like a massive arsenal of weapons that you can use, you can sometimes get a bit of a paralysis from analysis type situation where it's like, I could do this, but he's going to counter with this. But when you don't know that, it's kind of like, stuff it, I'm triangling. I'm going to get an overhook, I'm shooting a triangle, that's it.
Yeah, I think with nearly all competitors in the jiu-jitsu world, I think you have a certain period where you become very good at jiu-jitsu, but you're not world class yet. And that it's then when you have certain moves that you believe in 100% that are black belt level, you know, you could submit everyone with them, and you go to competitions and you're just doing them. All the other moves you're not sure about yet. Then when you become more well-rounded and you become world class, if you like, then you go to competition, you're like, well, I could do this, I could do that, and I could do this. And your game becomes so much more diverse that you lose that directness that you once had. So again, trying to get it into everyone for the next competitions that we do, I would say you should know a month in advance of your competition of what your game's going to be. You should know already that regardless of whatever happens, however I'm feeling on the day, whatever my opponent's going to do, I know where I'm best. I know what I need to do to get to that position. I'm just going to keep spamming it over and over again. And it won't make you the best grappler in the world, but you'll win competitions. And when it comes to competing, that's really all that matters, is winning the competition.
Of course it is.
And there's obviously lots of other byproducts of competing, especially in terms of the mental fortitude that you're going to build going forwards. But we all want to win. That's what we're there for. Who wants to go and just make up the numbers?
Well, you don't, do you? Even though, like I said at the beginning, it is about the whole thing, preparing for it, making weight, getting your competition nerves sorted, and building up months in advance to it. It's all good. It all builds character. It's like Mike went there and he never even got a match. But it wasn't a failure of a day for him because he had all the build up to it. He went through everything that he should do. So he's kind of experienced it to a degree. And I'm pretty sure he'll jump on the next one. But reverting back to like what you just said about having an A game, an area of go-to, and then 2 or 3 moves from that area. That's how we teach down here anyway. So it'd be very simple for someone to pick up on something and just say, you know what, triangle, or, straight foot locks, single leg X, whatever. It'd be very simple for someone to go in that area because it's taught that way. So if we are doing shoulder clamps and sweeps off of it and finishes from it, or anything really, it is taught in such a way where we marry it up. So that doesn't work, you've got this, you come off at this angle, you do this, and this. So, in one class, they could pick up on something and say, that's for me. That could really fit into my game, and that's something that I'm picking up really well, and I'm hitting it in sparring. So I don't think it'd take much for someone to get a bit of an identity.
Yeah, it just comes down to the individual at the end of the day. So I think another thing going forward is that people have to perhaps rely less on me to teach them what it is they need to do. Like most people now, especially the guys that are competing, have been training long enough to say, okay, this is what I like, or this is what I'm good at, and then just start running with it. Don't need me to tell you what you're good at, because everyone's going to be good at different things. Obviously, I'm going to watch people rolling and say, look, try tweaking this, try tweaking that. That looks like that's working for you. You can add this in as well. Or I see you going for that move, but you're not quite getting it. So put this in as well, and that will help you. So I'm obviously going to do my coaching part of it. But again, it is going to rest with the individual, especially when it comes down to consistency, how much you're training, what you're willing to put in.
It is also that. I mean, you get people that turn up for sessions, and we've possibly all been guilty of it. I try not to be, because I try to expand my knowledge of the game as much as possible. But, just turning up to training and going through the motions. It's like, dude, you've made the effort to get here. Let's put the effort in to learn it. Oh, yeah, but I'm not going to use berimbolos. I'm not going to use this. Yeah, but you need to recognize the position. You've got to recognize, even if you're learning how to do them, you can recognize someone's setup if they're about to do it to you or something like this. It's taken as much as you can from every class. You've made the effort. You've finished work. You've gone home. You've showered up.
That's it,
you've
left most of it.
Your missus and kids at home to come and put a couple of hours in. You may as well take something away. So, knuckle down on it and take something away that you might not use, but it will be, good knowledge that you can draw on if needed.
Yeah. Got kids competing tomorrow.
Okay.
So the kids are competing. So the parents have arranged that. So they're going to Wolverhampton tomorrow.
Okay.
I think they're both on similar times as well in the morning. So both good kids as well.
Yeah.
So see how they get on.
First comp or?
One of them, the girl, has done a few comps, and then the lad, he's doing I think it's his first one.
Yeah.
So, but he's starting to train on adult classes as well now. So he's young teen.
Excellent.
So I think they'll both do well, but
good.
We'll see.
It's nice to see the youngsters doing it. I mean, realistically, in our adults, we've only got Santi coming through that's really that young. Brad is youngish, but Big Joe as well. Hopefully he jumps straight back on it, because he was one I was excited to see.
Yeah.
And it'd be nice to have some of these guys, late teens, early 20s, to be putting it in.
But that'll come from the kids' classes. That'll come. You've got Harley as well now, who's
he's jumping in on the adults classes.
Yeah. So he's one of the teenagers that I expect to keep training. He's promised me when he starts driving and he's doing his own thing, he's going to still come down and train. So, in another 12, 24 months, he's going to be really good. So there's definitely going to be a few starting to come through.
Yeah.
And now we're getting these Saturday morning classes going for the kids, for the more serious ones. Hopefully this will be the start of them competing more. So you're going to get almost a different breed of adult competitor
coming through,
where you're going to have these young kids that are in shape, motivated, up for it.
Yeah.
Still a bit, wet behind the ears, but they're going to have experience in competition at the kids levels.
Yeah.
So it's almost going to be like a England football setup, like a national team football setup, where the kids that you're feeding through at your lower levels are the ones that you expect to be in that senior team.
They've already got experience of it, by the time they're in the adults classes. So it was a shame none of the ladies got a match at the weekend as well. But it was only a tiny, small local competition, so it wasn't, overrun with competitors, was it? It was
All
difficult.
We can do is keep trying, keep training, keep trying, keep improving, and then just see what comes up.
Again, they
the
put the work in, so kudos to them on that. But it was a shame. Yeah. Going forward, hopefully they do the one in October. I know I think Kyle and Wayne have got a competition coming up. I think it's Coventry All Stars. Is it Masters All Stars or something? Is that what it is? End of April. I don't like that competition. I like the competition, but it's not smooth comp. And
it seems strange actually that they're about the only ones that aren't on smooth comp.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
It seems like nearly everyone else is now, because I guess what most people are doing now is going to smooth comp to find what the next comps are that are coming up all across Europe.
I mean, it's a bit of a godsend, really. But even the Coventry, the venue, you can barely get to the mat. You know, unless you've got a badge on, you can't corner anyone. You can't go up the middle area without a badge on, a coach's badge or anything.
I mean, they're getting busy now. That's the thing.
Yes.
I mean, the kind of setup they have is similar to the comp at the weekend, but they've probably got 4 times as many people.
This is it, yeah. But they've got twice the amount of mats as well, isn't there? And there are about 6 or 8 mats that they have on at any one time.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Whereas the one at the weekend, was that 4 or 3? 4 it might have been.
Yeah, 4.
I think it was 4, yeah. But, you know, the tiered seating was quite good for spectators. We've had that on a fair few comps, but the Coventry one, I don't believe they have that. You just literally shuffling through people to try to get to each mat.
Peer over people's shoulders.
Yeah. At least we can get like a bit of a crow's nest thing going on to find our wanderers, the stragglers, just walking around, you know, when they're being shouted for their match and they're not changed, ready, warm or anything. So...
Again, it's more experience, ain't it? So hopefully everyone will be super ready for the next one.
Yeah, that was Phil. I felt bad for Phil because I think he started really, really well. And it's a bit daunting for the guy when he's not trained specifically in BJJ for that long and he gets thrown in with the blue belts.
Yeah, but he was doing all right, to be fair.
He was doing fantastic.
Like he was dominating the takedown exchanges. Mm-hmm. It's just obviously the ground game is a little bit lacking at the minute, but
do you think in that instance, with Phil being, you know, a lot better and proficient in judo, that he should try and use that against people? I know it's a BJJ competition, but they've already used his judo against him by putting him up into a different category. Should it be a case of, right, I've scored 2 points, disengage, let's engage again. I can rack it up. Do you know what I mean? 100%. Drag them into his world, even though it's a BJJ comp.
His game should be to lob someone, stand up, and then just basically defend them doing anything to him. And if they try and pull guard,
back out.
Obviously, you can't back out because... So he needs to get good at being in a type of guard that isn't closed
Stay
guard.
safe.
And just, fake a few guard passes. When they scramble more, get your guard passes. If they start trying to wrestle up, another throw.
But if he does end up in someone's guard, if he can stay safe and not get swept, you know, protect his collars and things like this, as soon as they open their guard to start anything, he can disengage at that point, you know, strip it off, stand the guy back up and then go back at it.
Exactly.
And I think
it's a good tactic.
Drag him into his world. I know it's a bit cheeky because it's a jiu-jitsu competition and I wouldn't like people to do it to me, but at the same time...
Got to play the game, don't you?
He's a white belt being put into the blue belt division.
Yeah. But actually, that match just reminded me of the discussion we had about the cornering. Because obviously in that match, there was some mixed messages that got to Phil when he was stuck in the triangle. So, I thought I would just quickly touch on that as well with the cornering. So for all the guys going forwards, like cornering is something that is like competing, you get better at it over time. I think sometimes people... had the delusion that as long as you're shouting something positive, what you deem as positive, it will spur them on to do great things within the match. But what you've got to remember is, especially when it's moving fast, so obviously the situation that happened was Phil was caught in a triangle, that you've literally got a couple of seconds to make a decision. Not even got a couple of seconds to make a decision. Like you're going to get finished in a couple of seconds. Like the decision you need to make has got to be, a split decision. So the information that he has to receive has to be the correct information, and he has to have that clarity that he's going to act on it straight away. And the trouble is, when you are in those situations, anything you hear, you will probably react to. It could be the opposition's corner deliberately shouting the wrong information, and you know it, but because you hear it,
we should use that.
You just go, you just go on it. So. Yeah, there's been a couple of times when we've been cornering people down here and people are just shouting, like
random
stuff. I can't really think of an example. I was going to say like just shouting things like "come on," like "you can do it."
Sound like water boy.
But realistically, what you got to do is you got to tell the person what's on the time. Okay, how long they got left?
I've got to say that's productive. 2 minutes left.
What's the score?
2 minutes left.
So they're aware of what the goal is, because the goal changes throughout the match. If you're sitting in someone's closed guard and you're up by 6 points or something like that, you don't have to do anything. But if you don't realise, maybe it's still a draw
Yeah.
or something, then the corner needs to be shouting, look, you got to go. You got to.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know if you realise, but you got to stand up and take a risk and do something. So that's what you need your corner for. And the other big thing about cornering is that most people that corner are experienced, and you've got to make sure that you're not telling someone what you would do in that situation.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people will get guilty of that. Because you could have someone who's been training 12 months and you're telling them this specific sequence of moves that you like to do, and they haven't got a clue what you even mean. So for the most part, it's got to be precise instruction, it's got to be simplified. So a lot of the time, and this is where I got my left and rights real good, because I used to get confused sometimes. If you know, like when you're telling someone, oh, your left arm, oh, I mean your right arm, and it depends on how you're looking at, you know, which way around they are. And I've got really good now at being able to shout to people, put your left arm to here, put your right arm underhook. Do you know what I mean? So that there's clear advice of what they need to do in that split second.
Yeah.
Because the amount of times you can go to shout information and the match has moved on.
Yeah, of course.
Do you know what I mean? You shout something, it's already gone to the next position.
I think at the very first time on a few comps where I had to pick up a few times when you couldn't make it, or you did the morning, I did the afternoon and things like that. I was guilty of that massively, you know, shouting a random move for someone to do. But, you know, again, I say hindsight's 20/20, but if they knew that move, they'd be hitting that move. And then I've listened to you do it, and it's more, well, broken right down, you know, step up, left foot first, or, you know, trap his left hand, pin it to his chest, whatever, strip the grip. These are more valuable to the person out there rather than bombarding them, and then they get confused in their own head and nothing happens. Yeah.
And you've got to let people like shine through with their own way of grappling as well. So, you know, a lot of the time I will not say too much as well. So when the match starts and they're standing up, I might say things like fake your levels, you know, attack the head, try and snap and then set up. Because they're going to have something in their head that they're going to do. And if you start blabbering something else, like, oh, well, that's there, now they're confused as what to do again.
I should go for that, otherwise they're going to say
you've got to
something.
sit back and like, okay, let's let him go, see what he does. And when something's happening that I can clearly see he's trying to do, then I'm going to add a little bit in here and there, but let them do it rather than, you know, again, trying to force them into grappling how you would, I suppose.
Well, like you said, yeah, exactly that. Not everyone grapples the same, do they? I mean, I'm not even close to grappling like a Tarun or someone like this. And he does seem to find his way into the positions he wants to get. So, you know, the advice that should have been shouting to him was the finishes. You know, when he got to the positions with unorthodox methods, really. It wasn't anything textbook, but he was super good at getting to them positions. Now, it should be, you know, pull the head, you know, adjust and do this, that, and the other. He had his own way of getting there, and individual styles. Joe was good. He had a game plan. He went out there, and he got to where he needed to get to, and then from the corner, the cornering that was going on, I was going to say shouting, but it wasn't really shouting. It was conversing, really. Was to drop off his elbow, look over his shoulder. He was turning the opposite way on that. So it was an easy thing to corner him into getting a finish on it. Yeah. You know, without trying to change his actual game by shouting moves that are only familiar to yourself. Yeah. So
exactly. Like I said, going forward, guys will hopefully have their own identity and their own style of grappling. And then from a cornering point of view, you just tweaking a little bit.
Pick up on theirs.
Go, really. Yeah.
It's hard when it gets into it though, and you really want that guy to.
And there's
you can see them advancing on it, and it's like you're getting so excited for them.
And there's nothing wrong with cheering people on. Obviously, we want to cheer people on and give them that little bit of spirit to fight for those inches. But yeah, it's just got to be that people aren't shouting all different information and. Like I said, you think about the person who's in there, not just shouting for your own validation that you think you know what you're doing. Yeah. Okay, cool. Let's finish off. I was going to talk about, now we're getting famous on YouTube, ish. We get comments on the
we do
videos and that, yeah.
Oh dear God, I've not seen these.
It's quite funny, so I thought I'd read a couple out. So, and there were negative ones as well.
Brilliant.
I thought we could have a laugh.
Brilliant.
So this was one from just a couple of days ago. This was me putting up a video of how to tie a kid's belt, like a belt onto a kid. So not, because I've seen loads of videos of tying your own belt, but not many of putting them on other people. So I made it for the parents.
Yeah.
So this one guy's put this comment, more concerned about putting a belt on than training. Why make this video?
Is that what he's put? So he's putting more emphasis on hating than going out and training himself.
Why make this video?
But he still watched it.
Yeah. And that told me I should be training.
Do you think he trains no gi?
I don't know. I don't really know who he is. But, I mean, I had to reply, right? Obviously. I mean,
of course you do.
Like, you shouldn't. Like, you shouldn't get... you shouldn't engage these people.
But why did they do it?
But I'll be honest with you, I am absolutely bulletproof, and there's nothing that anyone could say to me online or even to my face that would bother me or change the way that I do things at the gym and that. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to reply to it. So because he put more concerned about putting on a belt in training, I just asked the question, shouldn't you be training then? And then I put, this video was made to fish for most stupid comment. Congrats.
Give him a little medal.
Yeah. And
Did he
the funny
reply?
thing is, no, you never get replies on these things. One guy did actually, before I replied, he put, I don't know who it is, the uniform creates discipline, it has to be tied properly and always clean. So fair play.
Fair comment, yeah. But there's nothing more frustrating than teaching people and the belts always come off during a roll anyway. But you know, with kids and things like that, it is good knowledge.
It's a
to sort them
useful
out.
video for the parents. I put it in the parents group as well.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
regardless of what anyone says, it's
instead
useful,
of training, like people are going to spend hours watching that video, and it's like,
it's like I've screwed the whole jiu-jitsu community by putting that out there because no one's going to train
anymore. How come your kid's armbar sucks? It's like, well, you want us to concentrate on tying belts? What we supposed to do?
Yeah.
Idiot.
And the other one I had was on an Imanari roll that a video that I put up. So for those that don't know, Imanari roll, it's a pretty low percentage move. It requires spinning across your shoulders on the floor. And some guy put 1,000 ways to miss, then he stomps your head into the dirt.
Oh.
No thanks.
No thanks.
So to that one I just replied, all right, steady on, Master Ken.
But we have seen Imanari rolls work in MMA also.
Yeah. And again, someone did actually put on that in reply. And again, I don't know who this is. Sir, this is for BJJ, not a street fight. Haha. Also, look up Ryan Hall, UFC. Which is what you just said. Obviously, Ryan Hall, famous for hitting...
and also, was you advocating people to go and do it in a car park? Or was you just showing how to do it in a match?
It's like people just see this stuff and choose to just... I don't know, like I couldn't imagine ever seeing a video. And sometimes I do see some videos and I don't agree with whatever it is, for whatever reason. I just let it go by. I just scroll past it. I never feel the need to like comment something negative.
But do you think mainly it's the people that don't train or that want their own validation? Like someone could say, Aaron trains 3-4 times a week, and then they'll watch a video of BJJ and they'll say, yeah, but that's bullcrap. I'd just stand up, or I don't need... They almost... To validate themselves, they invalidate your training. Yeah. Do you get what I'm saying? So it's like, well, that's a load. He's just wasting his time while they're sitting there eating crisps, watching TV.
Do you know what? I always think of that meme of the from South Park. Is that the one I'm thinking of? Where he's big fat slob.
Yes.
At his desk, stuffing his face with crisps.
Slagging, leaning back on his keyboard.
Yeah. True keyboard.
That's that guy. He won't go to Imanari roll anyway, was he?
Yeah, he clearly hasn't got the ability.
Do a little turtle spin on his back like this, but. Yeah.
Okay, cool, mate. We'll call it there for today.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your time.